Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pop Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Tarun Mishra. Today, as you can see on the clock, it's 7:30 a.m. in India right now. And why are we sitting so early in the morning? Well, we have a very, very special host coming live from the United States of America. Please welcome Ms. Jennelle Gordon on the show. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us, and thank you for accepting our invitation for the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I have a special place in my heart for India, and I'm excited to go back again very soon. So this will be a fun show.
Definitely, Jenny, definitely. First, I want to start with your book, Unfuck Your Sex Life. I mean, the title is great. The cover is great. What I want to understand is, from where did you draw the inspiration for this book? And specifically, when I was reading it, it mentioned a lot of tantric sex. So there is a connection with India. And I wanted to understand what the connection is all about and how the entire inspiration for the book came from.
Yes. This is my illustrated book, so y'all can see.
Yes.
So the title the title and the inspiration all came from the ancient tantric practice, the ancient Indian practice of tantra, and parts of the Kama Sutra, which maybe for your generation, I don't know how much they know about that, because it's such a taboo topic now. I think if you know your Indian history, you know that India used to be not actually sexually repressed. And if you go to the Kama Sutra temple or any of the temples, any of the ancient temples, you can see the depiction of Kama Sutra statues and paintings everywhere still. And you see quite explicit content on there.
Definitely.
You would not understand, like today, Indian, like traditional Indian people would just be blown away. Like they just don't understand that. And so I think that is really, like, I meet Indian people when I'm flying here and there, and they can tell because of like my jewelry and stuff I always have. And then I tell them what I do, and then they say, you know more about my culture than I do, And so I think that they really do. They're like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, I spent my life studying this. But yeah, so basically that's where the inspiration came from, was because I studied this path, and I became obsessed with the idea of sort of understanding how such a liberated practice, obviously with the British colonization and things shifted, and you guys sort of shied away from that, and the tantrics went underground, and they had to, because they knew this was not acceptable, right? This is not gonna these activities are not going to be they're not gonna, they're gonna be stoned basically. And so they went underground, and the teachings went underground, and everything went underground. And now it's like the only way you can really learn this stuff is if you learn from an ancient master, which is what I did in Thailand and India. Yeah. So
you found someone in Thailand, basically, you're saying?
Well, so my school had two schools, someone in Thailand and India, but our lineage goes back from India about 4,000 years. From my guru's, his initiation back, if you date it back, his teachings came from 4,000 years ago. If you keep tracing it back, what a lot of people don't understand is that Tantra is not just about sex. There's a small part of the practice. It's like a 5% part, but the rest of the practice I always say it's like a personal development path. It's a spiritual path. And there's this just little nuance that deals with sexual energy. So that's what, where the inspiration came from. I didn't want to create an esoteric Tantra book, because those do exist, Tantra Illuminated. There's some really, like, these scholars, studied even more than I did. And they kept it so literal, and it talks about everything that you could think of in the tantric path. And it's very much over your head. And I knew that the masses were not going to read it because someone who'd studied, even for me, I was like, well, this is a lot, you know? So I created this book with the idea that I wanted it, everyone could read it. And you read it. So you tell me, like, everyone could read this, right?
Definitely, definitely. So in India, you are absolutely right about this thing. See, Kama Sutra was given by India to the world. But then again, the same thing that we preached has today become a taboo for us. So a lot of people, yeah, exactly. So you are absolutely right about it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think what people don't understand and what I teach at my retreats is that, you know, the Kama Sutra was not a sex manual. I know you guys will bleep out these words, but it was actually a manual for how to keep your marriage healthy and strong, because you have to understand that in India there's arranged marriages, and arranged marriages is the longest and most successful form of marriages on the planet. Now, success is subjective, right? But in regards to marriage lasting, we know that that is from arranged marriages, in India being the forefront who really pushed that. You see it in a few other religions like the Jewish faith and things like that, but India was the forefront because of the caste system and because you guys wanted to keep the money in the family, right? Absolutely. So people don't really understand that how the Kama Sutra came to be is a lot of these people who, these brides and grooms on their wedding night, they were meeting for the first time. Maybe they had met once before, maybe, but oftentimes for the first time. And they were young, you know, very young, and they were supposedly virgins. Most of them were. Absolutely. And so they didn't know anything about sex. They didn't know anything. And so the families would pass down this book from generation to generation. That was a rule book, a blueprint, if you will, on how to have sex. That was in there, but also how to keep your the passion alive, how to keep yourself interesting, the 64 classical arts and texts taken from the Kama Sutra, meaning there's all these different forms of arts and things that you can do and you can learn by yourself and or together. And also explain how to solve conflicts, conflict resolution. All these things were written in the Kama Sutra because, well, you think, oh, this is just a nice wedding present. Yes, it was that, but it was also, they wanted to keep that money in the family. And how do you keep that money in the family? You make the marriage work. And the crazy thing about it is a lot of the stuff in there, like, it really works. It really works if you actually do it. And so that's why, you know, after my training, I just was like, I really want to bring this to everyone. I want people to take these old concepts and draw from them and then make it applicable for today's relationships, whether it be marriage or just long-term relationships.
That's like, I mean, I haven't heard anyone in India explaining the book in the way you have done. I mean, that's really amazing. I mean, you have literally a lot of knowledge about India. If I ask you, what are the 5 inspirations from the Kama Sutra that you have used in your book, in your narrative, that you have pushed out, that you have preached in your book? What would be?
There's so many, because I talk about the applicable things, and I know we'll come back and do another episode, but also just the physical, which was Yab Yum, and Yab Yum is it's this posture right here. You know, it's the one that's on my book cover. It's it's Shiva and Shakti, or Krishna and Radha, however you want to say it. You know, whichever lineage speaks to you most. So it's the cosmic hug, I like to say, or the cosmic embrace, where it's the energies of, well, I'll say in today's terms, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, right? The top G and, you know, the most feminine Shakti, if you will, those two energies combined. What we have today is we're missing that, because we just have a reversal of roles. But basically, so what Yab Yum does and why it's so powerful, it's you have all the energy centers from the base to the crown sort of facing each other, aligning, and the energy is flowing back and forth in and out of each energy center and combining at the top. And in that position, the woman feels really safe, and she feels embraced, and she feels loved. And you can see breathing, you can soul gaze, you can do this pre-love making, but then you can also do this during, and then you can do also this afterwards as like a meditation to go into deep meditation. And so I think this notion of moving away from mainstream porn, which is what is so rampant everywhere today.
Absolutely.
Just this quick, there's OnlyFans everywhere. There's this and that. It's just insane what's happening. And so moving back, getting away from the fast fix, the fast FUCK, and moving into the connected, slow breathing and the union, and what I call in my book, the ultimate union. And that's what I took from the Kama Sutra Yab Yum. And so, yeah, it's sort of my goal to get 1,000 people yab yumming together. I don't know where that's going to happen. Maybe India.
So do you think that OnlyFans is like, if I look at OnlyFans, it's like 5 years down the line, but as the time progresses and we go into like 15 years of OnlyFans or 20 years of OnlyFans, do you think that is going to impact the ability for a man like to understand sex, or to like, because in Japan it's already happening, people are consuming more porn and they're not having sex, or they're not having babies. So do you think that the same thing is going to happen in the Western civilization?
Yeah, it's
I'll come to India, but I will start with US and the Europe first. Yeah,
it's already happening here. Women are starting, we know that the stats in the next 10 years, I think it's lessening. I think it was 10, but I think it's going down even. Okay. There will be more single, unwed, not married, childless women on the planet than any other time in the history of the world. Why is that? Well, you said it, porn. The other things that more women in the workplace, women are earning more. They're earning more than they've ever earned before. And they're also earning more than men. They're out earning men. So now you have this dichotomy of like this modern feminist woman who, she doesn't need a man now. She's making more than him, right? She's out earning him. She's women are in more credit card debt than men, right? So they're consumers, they're buying emotionally, and they've been trained and sort of brainwashed into believing that, their independence matters more. It's not good for them to take care of a man, and they should forego having children, and they should just have casual sex, or even just go without sex altogether and just get a toy. Or, now the crazy stuff is all the AI dolls, or having sex in these AI cyber sex rooms. This stuff is like, it's literally insane to me. I get worried for my son's generation a little bit. I'm like, this is wild. And so yeah, it's happening now. Women don't need men anymore. And even though that's a lie, but that is what the narrative is. And then sadly, on the other hand, men are also just incapable of sort of having a relationship today, because we know most of the men today, they don't have interpersonal skills. They don't have intrapersonal skills. They're fear rejection. Most of them are on SSRIs. They're depressed. They're overweight. Some of them are unemployed. They don't understand the dynamic in the polarity switch, right? They're being poisoned with estrogen and plastics. And so their testosterone levels are off. It's crazy now. So it's already happening, and they're consuming porn at the highest rate. And it's happening with our children as well. They're consuming it. They're getting their first dose between the ages of 9 and 11 on a home or on a trusted device, meaning a home computer or phone or family or friend. And they didn't go looking for it. And so these are the real stats, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the arranged marriages also, like in India, definitely you were right about it, that arranged marriages was something that was very common in India. But now the trend is what? In US, there was this culture of getting married and then getting a divorce. And divorce was also very common in US. And it wasn't very common in India at that time. But now what's happening is people are literally marrying for a business. So a man is going to marry a woman for something that is called Dahej in India. So it's like, if I'm marrying a woman, the woman has to bring a lot of money, for example, and not just money, materialistic things as well. For example, they'll have to bring car, or they'll have to bring gold, or they'll have to bring TV into house. So that's called Dahej in India. Now what's happening is the role has reversed. Now women are marrying they're getting into arranged marriages. Then they're having affair in India, and then they're demanding alimony.
Yes.
So, and in India, the law is so bad that if two people are getting separated, right, and even if the woman is earning a lot of money, even then the man has to pay.
Yes. Yeah. You're talking about, this is stuff is going on in the US as well too.
Okay.
I do think I got into a fight with a girlfriend of mine about this, who we have very similar beliefs, but she was like, no, women are getting screwed, too. And she's a single mom and things. And she was talking about all these single women who are getting screwed over. And I do agree with that as well. I do think that it depends on the location. America is huge, just like India, but there's so many, like, we have our own states, and there's different laws, and depending on if the state is red or blue, it's interesting, and the counties. So I think it's really, I don't know enough statistics to speak like very certain about these facts, but I do know personally men who are in these situations where they're having to pay. And so this is my view on it. It's like these women, and in the state of Texas, there's a huge influx of women who are making more than men, right? Who are earning more, and who are getting married. And then, just as you said, when they get married, then all of a sudden they don't want the 50-50 anymore. They don't want everything to be balanced. Then it's like, okay, no, I don't want to, like, even though I'm making more, like, I don't want to pay you, you pay me. So I think it's a double standard. It's like, do you guys want to be equal or not? If you want to be equal, then okay, we split everything down the middle, right? This happens, and you pay this and I pay this. Absolutely. But modern women today, they don't want equality, they want control. Okay. Because equality would mean that we're treated equal, but that's not what they want. They don't want that. They certainly don't want to surrender, be subservient, but they don't want to be equal, because equal would mean, okay, we split the bill. We do this. If we get divorced, we walk away, and or we both pay each other. They don't want that. They don't want that narrative. They want control, and they want to control the narrative of what happens in the marriage. And then when they exit the marriage, they want basically for you to pay them, and then they want to have control on when you can see your own kids, your own children.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the trend that we're seeing today. So it's like women just want to be men, but then they want to be women when it benefits them.
Getting it. So with this topic only, I'll just shift to the trends today, the Instagram trends and the YouTube trends. So there is one person in particular that is going viral since last 2-3 years, I would say. And he has been all over the news, Mr. Andrew Tate.
Yes.
What are your views on him? Because there are certain statements that he has made and that are absolutely on fire for men.
Yes.
For example, for a person who is struggling to understand what his role on the planet is. For a person like that, he is like a genius. But at the same time, a lot of women are looking at him as somebody who is spreading toxicity, or who's somebody who's promoting toxic masculinity. What are your views on it?
Well,
and I'm not just talking about Andrew Tate. I'm also talking about his brother Tristan. Go.
So I want to talk about both of them, but I want to go back just a little bit and take it to something I can relate to, because I think that when you're talking about this kind of narrative, you have to have some kind of experience where you can speak on it eloquently. And I have that because in my work, I say I don't like to teach theory. I only teach what I've done or what I've experienced, because that's how I can say I know this, right? The only thing that I can't say that on is some of the men's sexual practices, because I'm not a man and I don't have a lingam. But I've trained men, and I've had, partners who are men, and I've worked with some of the best sexual masters of sexual energy masters who are men on the planet. So in that regard, I am, I think, still more informed than the average man on his body and his sexual capacity and abilities and challenges. So when you're talking about Andrew Tate, and you're talking about a man who's making very bold statements, he's making extremely triggering statements that for most women, especially who are feminist, are hating. However, it's polarizing because he does appeal to men, right? Because of, like you said, a lot of men have lost their masculinity. Absolutely. So I want to take this to like a personal example where in the yoga world, which is something that I've been a part of for many years, for decades, if you will, there was this Bikram, this man named Bikram Yoga. And the same allegations sort of came towards him, maybe not the trafficking, but the sexual abuse, the sexual unwanted sexual advance, the sexual assault, and I know you can't say certain words, so I'm choosing my words.
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, but so, and they came for him, and Bikram created like a movement of yoga in the West. Okay. He absolutely came in and did what I'm trying to do with Tantra, which I haven't achieved yet, but he made it mainstream. He made yoga mainstream. And I know from a fact, even though I didn't train under his lineage specifically directly, I trained with his nephew, Sumit. And I also had very dear friends and colleagues who did train with Bikram and who told me, listen, it's just a giant F fest when you go. Everyone hooks up with everyone if you go to these teacher trainings, right? So okay, so then I'll take it even closer to home. When I went and trained in Thailand at my yoga school, it was the same scenario, right? Okay. It's a yoga school, but the main components is Tantra and Tantric Sex, right? So there's a lot of people, hooking up. Everyone wants the energy of the master. In fact, a lot of women throw themselves at the master, like begging for them to sleep with them, and at all the senior teachers, because you're getting this like power, you're getting this initiation from these masters, and you could get $1 million easier than you could get this sexual energy mastery from these masters. So these women are throwing themselves at these men. So actually, when allegations came out about my school in the Netflix documentary Unwell, I was floored because I had such a positive experience at my school. I never experienced any trauma. In fact, it did the opposite. I was able to heal from a lot of that. And so for me, I was with rose-colored glasses on coming into this madness of these people are saying vile things about my Swami, about my gurus, about my master senior teachers, all that I have to this day relationships with. And so it was like happened with Bikram, it happened with my school and my Swami and my senior teachers. And I see this sort of trend happening when men are in positions of power and they're giving a message, or they're giving an energy of hope, or of something that people grab a hold of, that there's always a movement of women that come after them and say that they did this. Now, I will caveat that by saying, I'm not saying that any of these things didn't happen. I'm just saying that they never happened to me, and I did not see them happening. In fact, I saw the antithesis. I saw people throwing themselves at these masters and senior teachers and crying just to get the chance to be with them. So what does that have to do with Andrew Tate? I'm drawing from the same type of experience, right? This is a man who's a very public figure. Also, let's match up and say that I was in this in the adult entertainment industry for a decade before I fled to Thailand, learned this path, and now am a healer. But so I know kind of what goes on in the world that he works in regards to the women he was training and all the things that he was doing with these women, I sort of have a hard time believing that it was all forced. I don't believe that. I think that I'm not saying they were crystal freaking perfect like all
Yeah.
the time. Maybe not some, maybe unbeknownst. There were instances where there were girls who were minors, but even in the industry I worked in Vegas, girls would have fake IDs all the time and go in to try to strip. So it's like, how, and you can't, like, how, you're supposed to check every ID, like triple check it all the time. People do their due diligence, but women still want to be in the sex industry and they do what they want to get into it.
Absolutely.
So for Andrew, I think that his message was very strong, and his message was messing with the agenda of the left and the liberals who want men to stay weak, who want men to be estrogen dominant, who want men to lose their testicles, who want men to transition and become women, because we know the stats are that more men turn into women than vice versa, right? So they did not like that this man had this much power and was really ushering in the movement of turning men into actual fucking men, into Shivas. And so I think it was disruptive to the narrative of keeping the men weak and feminine and taking the women into power and disrupting the family dynamic. And women are spending more, they're more emotional, they're in the most debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they wanted to take him out. And, all it takes is one of these girls who's in the industry. And when you're in the industry, you just want cash, like, hey, can you, maybe something happened? Can you fabricate this story? And because how many women came out and said good things about him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So again, and I have friends who are in this red pill space who are best friends with Andrew.
Okay.
So for instance, Sterling Cooper is a friend of mine. Okay. So, and others, people in that space that know him as well, Donovan Sharp, there's a few. So it's like, I don't know, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. They're telling me like, yeah, he didn't do it. He's not like this,
They are like in support of Andrew, they are saying.
Yeah, of course. So it's just, I don't know. It's tough because obviously with Jeffrey Epstein and now Diddy, all these things, it's just like, if you say that word, people freak out now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and this is my personal opinion. First of all, he lives in Romania and all of these things are legal over there. So I don't judge him for that because he's doing something in a country where it's legal. If he was doing something in a country where it was illegal, and then I would have judged him. But he has that brain, he has that intellectual to go into a country where he understands what the laws are and how he can play with those laws.
Yes.
Definitely the problem with the left and I don't even call them left, to be honest. In India, we call them communist. What do you think? Why are these people trying to disrupt the society in itself? Do they want the entire democratic system to collapse, or they want the way the democratic system functions, or the way the families function? They want that to collapse, because I'm not able to understand what their end goal is, where they want to go. What do you think about it?
I think it's a lot of things. I think it's population control. I think it's just control to keep a very small percentage of people informed, wealthy, successful, healthy, and alive. And for everyone else to sort of buy into the narrative of what we're spinning, which means the music, the movies, the television, what you're reading, all your inputs, your food. Don't even get me started on food.
Absolutely.
Everything. And the best way to do that is to disrupt the system, right? The system of like masculine, feminine dynamic, come together, have a child, family, create more. You have all these things creating, and then you have a community and a system that creates unity, but they don't want that. They want divisiveness. They want confusion. They want a disruption of the natural rhythm and flow of life, which is Shiva Shakti, that polarity that's supposed to be there, that makes everything, that makes, you know, every atom in the universe function, the
So
positive
true.
pole, the
So
negative
true.
pole.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what it is. It's about money, it's about power, it's about control. And most people do not think for themselves, right? They think
Absolutely.
what is being shoved in their face and what they read and what they watch and what they consume. And that's what they know. Like I just saw somewhere on my feed some guy, I forget what state it was in the US, he falsely diagnosed all these people with cancer and he made like 14 billion. Did you see that news
No.
article?
No. What's
He,
what? Okay, tell me.
I'll send it to you. I'll find it
Okay,
and send it to
all
you.
right.
But he was just sentenced to only 45 years, which is not that much considering he made about $14 million in from falsely diagnosing people with cancer, and of course then treatment, the radiation, and the meds and everything that they're put on, and so he made a lot of money. And some of the people died just from the radiation because they didn't have cancer. So this is what I'm talking about. It's what is making money. What makes money is not people who are healthy. It is not people who have healthy relationships, balanced sexual polarity, who are having children, who are balanced hormonally, who are balanced mentally. No, what makes money is people who are mentally insane, unstable, confused about their gender, confused about their life's purpose, who are weak-minded, who want to switch genders, who don't want to procreate, who want to consume more, who want to buy more, who want to get this more, buy this crap food. It's just like, it's what we call in the yoga world is like second chakra energy. What do I want? What tastes good? What feels good? It's just like low vibration. And those people who are on that frequency are easy to control, right?
I'm getting it.
And that's what they want. So confusion equals control for the people who are not confused, right? For the top. For someone like me, that's why they censor so much of my work, because I'm not confused. I'm preaching this narrative. I know what's going on. So
that's why they're like against you in that sense.
They're like, they've made sex taboo, then they've turned it, repackaged it, and sold it back to you. That's exactly what they've done. And they did it in India as well.
Absolutely.
You know, sex was liberated, sex was divine, sex was celebrated. We had the Devadasis, we had all these healers that were like, just like that, like Wonder Womans, if you will, of India. They're like healing people, and they were literally keeping the courts stable. There's a great series on Netflix about this. I don't know if you guys had it over
What's
there.
What's the name of that?
Oh my gosh, it was an Indian name and it slipped me, but
Okay.
I'll find it for you because I watched it. It was crazy, and it was literally about what is the word for escorts over there? I can't think of it. It's they serve.
Yeah, we can't say that on like the show, of course. But yeah, I understand what you are trying to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. So these women who were trained in the classical dance, and they were trained in, you know, traditional Indian dance, and they were trained in poetry and singing and dance, and the word, I can't think of the word.
I can tell you the Urdu word of it. It was called tawaif, if that's what you were looking for.
Yes, but I'm trying to think the English word of it. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, these women would go to these schools, and they were basically trained by a madam, and they were trained in illicit, like, speech and poetry and reading and language and dance and eye contact and touch and body, like everything, you know. They were just like feminine, and they were worked basically for the royal family. Some of them were lucky enough, and they were accompanying how can I say that word, accompanying the royal families and the kings, and they would keep them, you know, they would keep them connected, and they would keep them entertained. That's the word I was looking for. And so this was their job. And they were prostitutes, but it was like of this high level. And these women were very powerful and very good at what they do. And so they did it in India as well. They completely made sex taboo, and now they've sold it back to you in the form of Bollywood and all these other things. It's crazy. So it happens. It doesn't matter what culture, it happens.
Yeah, even in the Bollywood, it's now happening that the situationship or the hookup culture, it's being promoted on a very wild level now these days.
Yeah.
It's just that the Indian government has banned pornography, like even the distribution and even the watching. But the problem is, if you ban something, it's going to explode even more.
Yes.
You understanding? Like if I ban alcohol for the people, it's going, like, people are going to buy more alcohol just to stack it up so that they don't have to go out every time. So the same thing is happening with porn industry in India. So maybe the government has banned it, but people are now coming in and they are literally not just watching it, they are literally building it in India. And I personally fear about India because we have a very rich culture with sex, with relationships, with marriages, and we had a very rich history with this thing. But now it's going on a very, very different side. And what I've observed is, if somebody from India stands up and says, okay, I'm going to preach this thing to the entire world. I don't know if you have heard about Osho. If you have, have you? So he went to US and he opened up an entire ashram over there, and he was also kind of preaching the same thing. So when go ahead.
Yeah, no, Osho is one of our main, like, we have a lot of people that we learn from and we take from. So the poet Rumi, Khalil Gibran, the other poet, Osho, like, Mantak Chia, we have the greats, we follow them all. And because they have different practices, they all combine to make up the tantric practice in various different forms. And Osho is one that we obviously glean from, especially his relationship model, and that is in my book. I don't know if you noticed it. It's in when talking about the relationship model, the triangle and the circle. That's Osho's model. So Osho was sort of the Andrew Tate back then, if you will, where he came and people were not happy with what he was doing at all, because he was, talking about sex and love in a way that was free and not in alignment with the rules of society, especially in the US. So crazy.
Okay, one more thing. There are certain kind of news that are coming in. For example, there has been a lot of violence against the Indian community in US in the past few months. And I'm not talking about the Trump era, but before the Trump era.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so there has been a lot of, now not just in US, it has been a case in Canada as well. Canada is on like fire. They are like against the Indians that just send them back.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of a scene right now. And in India, it's big news. Even with the Trump administration, there are a lot of people that are getting deported. And I absolutely have no problem in that. If they are gone illegally, definitely deport them back. I agree to that. But a lot of violence is happening against the Indian community, which are like born over there in US. How are you looking at, because you are preaching Indian principles to the American people?
Yes,
and do you get a pushback on the same thing, that why are you preaching Indian values in an American society?
I get so much hate. It's kind of crazy. I mean, like, I try not to focus on it so much, because then it takes me off my purpose.
Okay.
And I'm already very easily distracted because I am hyper feminine. So I'm like, I try not to focus, but like, I didn't know this was happening to the Indian
Okay.
community at all. I live in Newport Beach, which is very close to Irvine, which is a very huge Indian population because of UC Irvine,
Hmm.
and it's a STEM college. So there's a lot of engineers and there's a lot of doctors and things, and a lot of them come from India. So you guys are the best at like coding and programming and doctoring and all that stuff, right?
I'm
It's
honored.
amazing. You guys are
Honored.
amazing. So yeah, so there's a huge community here. My son trains in basketball in India, or in Irvine, and half the kids on his team are Indian, Indian, or yeah, it's crazy. So I didn't know that this was happening,
Yeah. Okay.
but um, I don't understand the persecution from them
Okay.
because from what I know, and I know this is going to sound racist because I'm
It's
half Mexican,
fine.
but
It's fine.
I've
We can
never
take it.
like I've never heard like I've just never seen like Indians committing crimes or like you just don't see that in the news. Maybe it
Yeah.
happens in America, but I've never seen that. Now I can't say the same about my people, the Mexican culture. You do see a lot of that with the human trafficking and the drugs and all the stuff that's going on. So I do get persecuted, yes, for what I teach. I do teach Indian principles because I believe in the laws of metaphysics and understanding just the science of sexual polarity. And that's what
Okay.
I try to get people to understand. Like, it doesn't matter what culture, this goes beyond cultures. We're just talking about a
Hmm.
positive and negative that makes up the entire universe. So, yes, I get persecuted for teaching Indian principles. Yes, I've been told before, like, I shouldn't be teaching it because I'm not Indian, or I'm exploiting you guys' culture. But I'm like, I actually think I'm pushing this out because I'm mainstream. I live in the US. I have a semi decent platform, and I'm pushing concepts that otherwise would be buried. So I would think like you guys would be flattered that I'm talking about this, and that I wear a bindi,
Absolutely.
and that I'm putting yab yum on Bravo TV like I was on my segment, so like I don't know. I have never said anything disrespectful about the culture. I love it. It's probably maybe my second or third place on the planet. So favorite place.
Hmm.
India is. So yeah, I think it's tough. People sort of, they're either they love it or they're just completely turned off by it.
Getting it. Getting it.
Yeah. It's just, and it,
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's just like either that or people are like, oh, she's going against the Christian faith. And I'm like, no, how am I going against the Christian faith? I'm not telling you to renounce Jesus
Absolutely.
or Buddha or whoever you pray to. I'm just saying these are principles, just like math is these are universal concepts, right?
Yes.
Math,
Yes.
science, right? We're not saying that this is going against Christianity or Judaism because we're learning math or because we're studying the stars or because we're studying science. And that's how I look at this practice. I
Definitely.
don't look at it as a religion. I look at it as a principle, as a
Absolutely.
concept, as a theory of polarity. It's metaphysics, it's energy. This has nothing to do with Krishna or like
Hmm.
Radha, or praying to Lord Vishnu, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes. Yes.
I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not even saying any of that. I don't say that because, or Ganesh, I'm literally just saying, if you understand and you can accept science, you can accept energy, you can accept mathematics, then you should be able to understand and accept this principles, this method, if you will, this system of understanding sexual polarity. That's all it is.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely understand, because even my belief is like, uh religions are there, but then what you should look at it as, like, the teachings of it. So for
Yes.
example, like you said that you're not preaching Krishna, but definitely you can preach the teachings of Krishna. When he says
Yeah.
in Mahabharat, like in Bhagavad Gita, when he says that, when Arjuna is saying that I cannot fight my own brothers, at the same
Yes.
time, the God is coming and saying that no, even if it's your family, You'll have to fight the injustice. So you're not preaching Krishna, you're preaching the teachings of Krishna. And definitely I get your point.
And just another saying that I do use or a story, a parable I use at my retreats is like, when you talk about, Krishna and Radha, that she was actually already married. She was married. She did not have, she already had a place in society. And out of all the thousands of gopis, Krishna wanted her. He didn't want anyone else. And the reason why, it wasn't because she was so hot or whatever. It was because of her love and devotion. Yeah. And she's and Krishna and all the gopis came to him and said, why do you love Radha so much? And he said, because at night when she sleeps, all I hear is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Like her heartbeat is literally saying Krishna. What does that mean? She's so loyal. She's so faithful. She adored him. She worshiped him in a sense. Yeah. And so how is that principle bad? We women today are like, when you say like, where do you want to go? And then they say, oh, I want to take you to this new place. Oh, you're trying to control me. It's like, what? I just wanted to take you to this restaurant. And I thought maybe I should tell you to wear something nice so that you didn't look crazy going in there. No, this man's already trying to control me on the first date. Like, can you imagine that versus the love that Radha had for Krishna? Absolutely. So teaching these, if you talk about principles, to me, this is a good parable. This is a good story. This is a good way to exemplify love. And that was something I was thinking about because I grew up extremely faith-based, extremely in a Christian world. You don't see much about relationships in the Bible. You don't see much about the dynamic of relationships. You just kind of were taught like what not to do, not to have sex before marriage, and that the husband's supposed to be in control and of the wife, or supposed to be the leader of the wife as the husband is submitting himself to God. And that's basically the hierarchy. There's not a lot else that's said. There's not any models of like this power couple in the Bible. What are you talking? Abraham and Sarah? Like he went and had another baby with her mistress, or no, what's the word? Her slave, basically, her servant. Thank you. So it's like when you just don't hear of couples in the Bible that are just these power couples that exemplify true love. So tell me one, if there's one, maybe Esther, like, I don't know, but in the New Testament, so I think that's
what do you think about the Old Testament? Because somewhere down the line, the Hinduism is a lot connected to the Jews' culture. So in the Old Testament, I remember there was one line which said that you cannot have an affair with somebody outside. So somewhere that I think that is one of the reasons why Israel and India, they connect on a very deep level. So if anything happens to Israel, India is always standing for them in that culture. And even for India, if something happens to India, Israel is always standing. So with this relationship thing only, I want to come on to the last question. What do you think is the current role of a man and a woman in a society? And what do you think is going wrong with them right now?
I just have to say what has worked well before, what is not working well now, and how do we find the happy medium, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You say, if anyone I work with, I always say, okay, where are you now? Once they know where they are now, then I can say, okay, where do you want to go? And then once they tell me where they want to go, I say, okay, let's go from here to here. Then I create the plan, right? If you don't do that in anything you do, then you're cheating yourself. So if you say, what is the role of men and women today? I think the role of men today is to be the Shiva, if you will, that the world is missing. What does that mean? That means directed, connected, focused energy in their own body and to their woman and to everyone in the world that they come in contact with. That means boundaries. That means saying no That means telling women, no, we're not doing this. That means telling their wives, no. That means saying, this isn't happening now, but because I have a better plan, because I have this in mind, because I'm providing for you, I'm protecting for you, I'm being present, I'm providing, preserving a lineage for us, a legacy, like all these things. And I don't think men are doing that today, because men are scared that they're going to lose women if they actually say no. If they actually say, I don't want to do that. What is the saying? Happy wife, happy life. No. Happy Shiva, there's no more strife. Like, that's how I see it. Like, the thing is, women, we change so much today. We change so much in our hormones. We're constantly changing. How can we be certain about anything? And why on the face of the planet would we think it's a good idea to let women lead? Why would we think it's a good idea for them to lead the relationship, let alone a country, as in a president? I think Mexico has a woman president right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is absolutely insane. So, like, absolutely. So I think women's roles are to surrender. I know that sounds crazy, but when women surrender, good things happen. I'll give you a perfect example. Childbirth. When you're going through childbirth, it's not fun. I'll just say it's not something I want to do every weekend. Like, I'm ready to do it again. It's been about 10 years. I forgot. I'm ready to go again. But if you resist what I called pressure waves, because I did hypnobirthing, aka contractions. If you resist the contractions, what happens? Any woman will tell you it makes it worse. The only way to win in that game of giving birth is to surrender.
Release it.
You have to just let the contractions, the pressure waves move through your body and move them through your body, and then release and enjoy the time when they don't come, and breathe and regroup and start over. So I think when women surrender, we have good things that happen. We surrender to the beauty that is, we're always flowing, we're always changing our emotions, we're changing our hair, we're changing our moods, we're changing the music, we're changing our outfit, we're changing everything. And men and Shivas are always constant. They're always staying the same. They really, really don't change much unless they're feminine. If I see a man that I haven't seen in 10 years, he kind of is like the exact same. There's nothing different about him. You take a woman 10 years past and she's like so different. Absolutely. So I think the ultimate role is for the man to be sort of the director of the movie, and the woman to perhaps be the supporting actress, right? Who's right there, close relationship with the director, listens. The actress doesn't say, hey, I know what's better in the scene. No, she acts her heart out in the scene because she has a close relationship with the director, and she trusts the director that the vision of this movie is going to come to fruition, because she cannot see what he sees because she's in the fucking movie. Right?
Getting it. Absolutely.
And that's what it should be in the relationship dynamic today. I think women, I'm not saying to take away women's ability to work or to earn money or to do things, because today we sort of do need two incomes and things of that nature. But I think the dynamic of what happened to women just wanting to serve a man, like, and what happened also on the other hand to men wanting to like just worship the ground that she walks on, in a sense that this woman takes such good care of me, like I want to give her the world, because she's like, make sure my every need is made for. Like that I feel like she's being loyal, that she's taking care of the children, that my home is always clean, that when I'm out doing the stuff, I'm going to come home and give her this and give her that and give her what she needs and be present with her. It's a give and take. And today, unfortunately, I feel like women want to take more than they want to give. Absolutely. And men are just left dumbfounded because they really don't need anything from a woman today, because they have so much access to pornography. They don't need, I tell people all the time, sex is way harder for men than it is for women. Absolutely. I get so much hate on this. It is more emotionally taxing for a woman. But for men, and anatomically and physically and energy wise, it is, and mentally even, it takes more to get an erection, to make sure you're not hurting her, to make sure that everything is going, that you're lasting long enough, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So men don't really need to have sex. They want to, but they can easily be okay without it. And
Absolutely.
so I think it's kind of sad today that we're at this impasse where neither party wants to budge, right? Men are just like, they want to have, because men love women. They just do. It's sort of in their DNA to love women. And I think till today, women have taken a lot of men for a ride, and it's hurt the dynamics of how the sexual polarity should flow.
I think
And
the access to like for a man, you can say the access to a woman is much more difficult than a woman having access to a lot of men. So even on our show, we sometimes say this thing that a man has to do certain things to get a woman, and a woman just has to exist to get a man. And people are going to come to her. Yeah.
And if you're just mildly attractive and you have, something spectacular about you, a personality, a trait, a voice, something like an essence about you, for women, it can be quite easy in life.
Absolutely.
It can be quite easy in life, and for men, it's like, you're not getting free things thrown at you. You're not getting a taste just because you look cute.
And I think that is because of that, a lot of sexual frustration is also building into men these days, because they're seeing everything online, but they're not getting to do it physically. But because at the end of the day, even with your book, it's the same thing. Unless and until you are physically involved with someone, you're never going to feel that kind of connection, that kind of emotion, or that kind of, say, orgasm as well, I believe.
Yeah. It's it's like when your body is a living, breathing orgasm. That is like my mantra. It's like everything I do is that. And people don't have that anymore. They go searching for it, but it doesn't happen. And then the sex is so fleeting because it's so superficial, and it's such a rushed experience, and it's not connected, and there's so many things that are left unsaid, meaning like there's just so many things that are not happening to attract a woman so that she feels like, I posted on my page today, she feels safe to open up, to going to those places. Absolutely. And then if a woman really isn't into sex, then it's kind of not that fun for a man. Absolutely. He can just do that alone and watch some porn. Absolutely. So there's so much to cover here. And, I think that the first step is just doing what we're doing. I'm getting. And I'll just say this thing that even I believe in what you preach. I absolutely 100% believe into it. And I'm also somebody who's not against feminism. I mean, they should have the right to work. They should have the right to vote. They should have absolutely equal status in the society. But in India, what's happening is now, even though they have got everything, now they want more. So what's happening in India is like, now they want more status in, say, metros. So I don't think in New York it's happening, but in India, in Delhi especially, we have like a special coach for women. And even after that, we have like 2 seats reserved in every single coach for women. I get it. I understand it. But because of the safety issues, I get it that there are a lot of, this is what I'm saying, that there's a lot of dynamics in India that is happening. So when I'm talking about sexual frustration, so men are groping women in public. So I understand that, okay, fine, women should have something like but at the same time, there's something coming up called the pseudo feminism, where women are just taking advantage of all these things, and then like the Me Too movements that all over.
Yeah, they are framing men into something that they haven't committed, and their lives are getting ruined. So that is something I'm against. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. It's what's happened here with, some might say Andrew Tate, with a lot of other men in powerful positions. It's like, I don't think men really, a lot of men today are just like, they don't even want to work with women anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're like, this is going to be damaging for my business if anything happens.
of course, I also understand the plight of women, because what's happening with, like, we talked about Jeffrey Epstein and now Diddy. So I get it that, okay, it's not just that the men are getting suppressed or men are getting, even the women, they definitely face certain things which they shouldn't. And yes, there should be a balance of both the things. Right now,
Yes.
it's just some people, they're just trying to overpower the other. And I just want them not to do it, because a man is a logical creature, a woman is an emotional creature, and we need to understand each other's like needs, and then just go ahead with a relationship and then just fulfill it. That's what I personally believe.
Yes. I agree. I agree. There has to be the balance, and if there's no sexual polarity,
Yeah,
there's no relationship. There's no sexual relationship. You're just friends. You're just homies. And if you're married and you're not having sex, then you just have a roommate. You know?
absolutely.
Or you're an Airbnb tenant. You're renting
That's
out
where
one of
your
your
soul, because sex is something, that's where your soul connects. That's what the
Yes.
cusp of your book was. Definitely. This
Correct.
was like a very good show. It's
Oh.
time. We should be winding up. Thank you, Jenny.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show and talking about these things. I think I haven't heard all about the Indian culture and Indian history in India from Indians the way you have told us today. So that's really amazing. I mean, if Indians are gonna watch this show, definitely they're gonna buy your book.
Yes.
To our viewers, they're small, but definitely you guys are growing. But to the viewers who are here, definitely Jenny's book is launching in India this month.
Yes.
Unfuck Your
Yes.
Sex Life. Go ahead on Amazon. If you want to say something on your book, go ahead to the Indian audience. Please go.
Yes. On Amazon, you can already order it, I believe, right on Kindle, correct?
Yeah, Kindle
Is
is
that
it's on. Yeah.
Kindle's on Amazon. And we're working very hard to have Unf Your Sex Life in actual Indian bookstores and Satnam bookstores, the chain. And so they've already agreed. So we're just working out the little things. And when that happens, I will definitely come out for the launch, and we'll be very excited.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being on the show today. It was lovely talking to you. And definitely, if you're coming to Bali in September, we might just bring the entire studio to you.
Yes, you have to come. That'll be amazing.
Definitely.
Okay. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us. This was Jennelle Gordon from the United States of America. We'll be back next time with the home team and Tarun Mishra and friends. Till then, see you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care.